Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome to another edition of Football Theory. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers, of course, joined by the coach, former high school football coach at Rotan, at Burnett, Brownwood, Capel. Burnett also was a college football player at Abilene Christian, coached there at multiple stints as well, was on the staff at the University of Texas for multiple head coaches, multiple stints as well. He's a very accomplished man. I can't even name all the accolades and all the achievements, but right now you can find his work over at ShipleyRanches.com. It's Coach Bob Shipley. What's going on, Coach? How you doing?
Hey, doing great, man. Doing great. Just hanging out. Little warm weather. Got a chance of some rain coming in the next few days, so that's good.
Yeah, I heard there's gonna be some rain coming. Her folks are dealing with some hurricanes and some severe weather too. So everybody's been dealing with severe weather. We know we got on Texas football family all over the world. So we appreciate you guys and hope you guys are staying safe. But we got a lot to get into here on Football Theory. I hope everybody had a happy 4th of July as well. But I want to talk about empty formation with Coach. I want to get into empty formation. It's not a large percentage of the concepts that Sark uses, but I'm going to argue he should use it more, and we'll get into that coming up on the show. Before we do that, though, let's thank our fantastic sponsor. We are grateful and very thankful to have Laura Baker as the sponsor of Football Theory. Football Theory brought to you by accomplished Austin realtor Laura Baker. Laura and the Andy Allen team at Keller Williams can handle all of your real estate needs in the Austin area. Laura is not only a diehard Longhorn fan, but a long-time Austin real estate expert. So please give her a shout today. 512-784-0505. That's 512-784-0505. All right, Coach. So for those who don't know, empty formation is basically when you only have the quarterback in the backfield. Every other eligible receiver is up close to the line of scrimmage, on the line, and there's nobody in the backfield but the quarterback. So, yeah, other than the quarterback run game, and there's some creative ways. You could use some jet sweeps to bring guys in motion. So there are ways you can use some different pitches on some different jet return motions. There are different things you can do to be really creative in the running game. But for the most part, there are no traditional handoffs in empty formation because the quarterback is the only one in the backfield at the time. That's empty formation. And, you know, Coach, I became obsessed with this. I believe it's the Super Bowl that the Patriots and the Rams played. And the Patriots won. Everybody said it was a terrible Super Bowl. I like the Super Bowl, but I'm a defensive guy. Only one touchdown scored in that Super Bowl, so everybody kept complaining about it, Coach, and how bad it was. And I was like, that was actually a really good game. It was just a chess match defensively between, you know, Belichick and Wade Phillips, also one of the best and most respected defensive coaches out there. And they just kept going back at it, going back and forth. And there was one touchdown score. And on the one touchdown drive, it was revealed that the Patriots went to empty formation out of 22 personnel, 2 backs, 2 tight ends. So they went heavy personnel, but then they went empty formation. And when Wade Phillips later was talking about it, and it was the only they scored a touchdown that drive because the Rams, it was the one situation they were not prepared for. And when Wade Phillips was asked about it, he said there had been less than 10 instances the entire season, all 32 teams, all right, all 16 games. There have been only fewer than 10 instances where a team lined up in 22 personnel and went empty formation. And essentially Wade Phillips was saying, I couldn't have prepared for it, guys. I did everything I could to prepare for this game. We were well prepared. Trust me, they only scored one touchdown, and the one touchdown they scored, they had to break out something that had been used less than 10 times the entire football season by all 32 teams in 16 games. And I started thinking about how man, that's very rare and creative. And then fast forward a couple of Super Bowls later, you remember the Cincinnati Bengals and the Rams in that Super Bowl. And turns out in that Super Bowl, the Rams and the Bengals were number 1 and number 2 in the NFL in empty formation rate. They were number 1 and number 2. And it's almost like Sean McVay, who the one Super Bowl he lost, he learned the reason he lost it was because of empty formation. And it's like, if you can't beat them, join them. And then he became the team, at least his team, the Rams, became the team that basically won the Super Bowl, got to the Super Bowl a few years later, running more empty formation than anybody else in the NFL. And I thought to myself, that is not a coincidence, Coach. That is football theory. It's all interlinked. It's all linked and related. And I think he learned his lesson about how dangerous empty formation can be. From that point on, I became obsessed with it. And I think to this day, Coach, it may be one of, if not the most difficult concept to defend if ran effectively in football. I truly believe that.
Yeah, it is. And it's been proven. I mean, obviously there's some disadvantages to it, but
yes,
you limit your protections. You've only got 5 guys, that can block unless you motion a guy in, and then it's really not really truly a empty set. But we've talked about this before. One of the things I love about the empty set is what a great advantage it gives you when you have a quarterback that can run.
Boom! Yes,
now you've got 12. It's 12 guys. Basically, you're playing with 12 guys on offense. And if you got a guy that can run it out of empty, then you have a huge advantage, over your opponent. One of the things that I studied a little bit is Mike Norvell at Florida State. He has a different take on empty. He is very innovative. I think he's one of the best offensive football minds in college football. And in the 22 season, they ran the empty formation 69 times. 69 times they ran it. And they never had more than 3 wide receivers on the field. Out of 6, every single time they ran it, they only had 3, never had more than 3 wide receivers on the field. So most people think, okay, you going empty, you got 5 wide receivers on the field. Not him. What he did was he put big guys out there. I'm talking big guys out there. Now, how do you cover those guys with your 5'9", 5'8", 5'10" DBs, and you've got 6'5" tight ends out there, or he loves big receivers anyway. He loves good sized wide receivers as well. And so he created such a mismatch just in height and size, and so anyway, that's just there's so many different, just because you say empty, there's a lot of different ways, to run things out of empty that gives defenses fits. And that's one of them right there that's been proven time and time again with Mike Norvell using it the way that he uses it. Of course, the other way is, if you don't have those big guys and you like the smaller, fast guys, well, it's great to run your quick screens and everything out of that. And like you mentioned, your motions and, tunnel screens and, every kind of screen you can imagine, which can still be an advantage using bigger guys out there, when for obviously blocking on those quick screens. And then those quick guys getting the ball on a jet sweep, toss or whatever from the quarterback, shovel pass, whatever you want to call it, handoff. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but it creates a whole nother level of difficulty for the defense, because even though it may not be a huge part of your offense, they have to prepare for everything you can possibly do out of it. Yep. And so my goal when I was an offensive coach was to make that defensive coordinator prepare for as many different things as he possibly could, even though we may not have much out of this formation and out of this concept, but he's got a plan like we do, because you never know. And so the more time you can keep them from working on your bread and butter, your odds go up and increase.
Coach, man, you got there was so much wisdom there. I hate to kind of veer off path here a little bit, because you're money in so many ways. First of all, I'll work backwards. What you said about forcing teams to prepare for multiple scenarios, almost a limitless amount of possible concepts and scenarios. So this is the reason I think Sark needs to diversify. Just number one, because it is a defensive coordinator's nightmare. Guys, you only have so much time to prepare. Whether you're at the NFL level, whether at the college level, high school level, there are certain entities in place, rules and restrictions that only allow you to practice and meet so much. So as a coach, one of your number one issues is, guys, how much time, how are we allotting our time? Are we spending time wisely? If we're going to spend 2 periods on this particular concept, we got to make sure it's worth it for us, because we only got so many periods we can practice. So you can, if you just come up with running, the pony package and running empty and the 6-0 line package and keep throwing out there these different concepts and personnel groupings, all you're doing is forcing defense coordinators to go, damn it, that's another thing I got to prepare for. Guys, we got to devote another couple of periods to this. And by the time they're done watering every period down, because they never truly get to focus on one thing, because you are not just one thing, it's not your offensive identity. You've already, it's out of the art of war. You've already kind of won the battle because they're ill-prepared going in.
Yeah. If your bread and butter is a duo, they ain't going to spend near enough time working on that. And that's tough enough if you had all your time to stop that, because there's so many different things that can happen on that play. But again, offensively, you've got your guys in the box, and you've got to play devil's advocate. Okay, if they line up this way, what's our answer going to be? If they line up this way, what's our answer going to be? And you just throw it out there the first quarter, first half, see how they're going to adjust to it, and see if you got some ways to manipulate that. Yep. And that's a fun thing about being an offensive coach, because you can really mess with people and make them pull their hair out. How am I going to prepare for all this? But to your players, obviously, you have to keep it simple.
Exactly.
Keep it simple, and it can be simple. And like I said, they have no idea how many things you have out of that package.
Oh man, Coach, there's nothing scarier than lining up and on a play and not knowing exactly what to adjust to as a defensive player. Going, we didn't practice, Coach. We did not practice this at all. I don't recognize this. It is. Trust me, Coach. I felt that feeling like, hold up, I haven't seen this before. What is this? And your first initial would go, nah, please, can we get a timeout here? We got to talk about this, guys.
I don't want to look like a fool.
Exactly. I don't want to look stupid, but I don't really recognize this. And so I totally get that, working backwards. But getting back to the empty formation, you brought up something that was brilliant as well. And by the way, if you were to go back to it, we won't do a true origin story of empty formation. But the truth is, what Coach just brought up, the origins of empty was with 5 wide receivers on the field. That was the origin of it. Now, teams are more sophisticated now. They come out and present power personnel packages, 22 personnel, 21 personnel, 12 personnel, and then spread you out. So you're going to counter that by running your 40 personnel, 3-4 linebackers on the field, 4 DBs, and then they spread you out with these big, tall tight ends and with running backs like Bijan Robinson who can go out there and run routes, or Jahmyr Gibbs, those kind of guys. And that's the freaky next level. And then if you don't adjust, say you keep your sub package on the field, well, hell, keep your sub package, we'll just run it down your throat because you got all these light DBs who don't want to play run defense. So it really is a chess match. As Coach mentioned, if you're an offensive coordinator, you can really play some mind games with the defense. But Archie Cooley, go look it up, guys. And so Coach knows all about this. Archie Cooley, he was the head coach at Mississippi Valley State way back in the day when Jerry Rice was playing. And this is a great kind of football theory story, because I always say that most of the great schemes in football, they didn't come down from the mountaintop on some tablets like the 10 Commandments. You know what I mean? Like the West Coast offense, they were just trying to maximize the talent of one specific player, right? Trying to maximize someone's skill set. And then they kind of stumble upon a new concept. They stumble upon something brilliant. And then they decide, hey, let's cultivate that. Let's work on that. And the same thing happened with the empty formation and Archie Cooley. So he had this brilliant receiver, Jerry Rice, and he had a lot of other good receivers. He decided, you know what, I'm going to put all of them on the field at the same time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to isolate Jerry Rice on one side of the field by himself, and I'm going to put 4 wide receivers. All right, just 4 wide receivers on the other side of the field, and force the defense into a conundrum. Either you are going to devote numbers to the bunch and the 4 receivers on one side of the field. All right, you're going to devote numbers to them, and if you do that, that means you're going to leave Jerry Rice one-on-one. Now, if you say you want to double Jerry Rice, which everybody agrees you should do, then that's fine, because you're going to lose the numbers battle on the other side where I got 4 wide receivers that can run routes. And so it really did. It was brand new, threw a lot of defensive coordinators off. And that was really, they called it the Satellite Express. Go look it up. That was the name of the quarterback.
I've seen it. As a matter of fact, that's exactly because of that. That's exactly what we did with Jordan when he was in high school at Vernon.
Man,
he was never on the multiple receiver side. He was always over there by himself, and everybody else on the other side. And it's like, okay, here's my hand. Show me what you're going to do. You know. and of course you have to have answers. They put two guys over there. You've got problems somewhere else. Yep. And we were lucky enough to have good enough players to overcome that, and to take advantage of that. But because of that, we saw that, we read that. One of my guys on my staff did, and that's exactly what we did. We put him way out there by himself, and we had a fake punt. We had my quarterback, Stephen McGee, was a great quarterback for that.
Yeah.
Well, he'd be in the shot. He was a punter too. So we'd spread everybody out, put Jordan on one side all by himself, and punt. They had to have a guy deep, okay? Yeah. If there was ever one-on-one coverage, we did this in the state championship game against Gainesville. If there's only one guy out there on him, it was automatic. We're going to throw the fake because we didn't feel like anybody had a DB that could cover him, And he and McGee would get together and whatever signals or whatever they did to which route they were going to run, and it was money. I mean, because the defense, the punt team, they're not running. We actually saved it for the playoffs, and I don't even think we really ran it much until the state championship game. But we got a huge first down off of it because they had to have somebody back deep to return the punt. And it was, but it's all based off of that same exact idea when Jerry Rice was playing there.
That's amazing. Football theory, it's all related. Like, that's why you got to study it in so many levels, because it's all related. And you're right, Coach. It's just creating matchup advantages or matchup disadvantages for the defense. So that's kind of getting back to empty. That is the genesis of it. Go look it up. They call it the Satellite Express offense with Jerry Rice. The reason he put up those crazy numbers in college, and it was named for Willie Satellite. I think his name is Totten. Willie Satellite. He was the quarterback for that Mississippi State team. Anyway, getting back to it. Getting back to Texas. And getting back to your point you made about the dual threat quarterback. And the Eagles, actually, when they made their Super Bowl run, they were running a lot of empty formation with Jalen Hurts. Because as Coach pointed out, there is nothing, I think, that is more difficult to defend for a defense than a team that wants to go empty formation with good receivers like the Eagles had with, A.J. Brown and of course, Devontae Smith, excuse me. So they had really good receivers that could spread you out, create matchup nightmares. But then when you do actually defend the passing concepts, and most of them are quick game coming out empty formation, because as Coach pointed out, one of your issues is pass protection, and we'll get to that in a second too. You still have the entire defense is stressed, probably to the maximum degree they can be stressed without them as a defense essentially, collapsing and allowing a big play, and then you have to still defend the +1 in the running game. And I'll give you Bam Bam Sam. We'll give you his numbers before we get out of here later on. He was amazing out of empty formation. Sam Ellinger was great because once everybody covered up the receiving threats, you still have to tackle Sam Ellinger in the open field, which is a Herculean task in itself. So I'll give you those numbers because we're going to go through Texas numbers here. But Texas, and it's about Quinn Ewers for a second. Quinn last year actually was not elite out of empty formation. He was not elite. He was okay. And Texas is usually just they're okay in terms of efficiency out of empty formation. They were elite when Sam Ellinger was here. But the last 3 games, I started to notice Coach Quinn feeling more comfortable in empty formation, because you pointed out there's a certain your internal clock has to speed up, Coach, because you don't have the pass protection that you are going to have usually when you can keep a back in the backfield, or obviously keep a tight end or an H back in there. If everybody's out the line of scrimmage, no backs in the backfield, the ball's got to come out really quickly. So your internal clock's got to speed up. And I think Quinn has struggled with that a little bit. We talk about him getting through progressions slowly, and he needs to speed up the way he gets through his progressions. I think it's affected him in empty formation, but he started to feel really comfortable toward the end of the season. So last 3 games, including the Washington game, Coach. So Washington, Oklahoma State, and then the Tech game. He was over 75% completion percentage out of empty formation. Usually the completion percentage is relatively low. What's up are first down rates, explosive play rates. Those are usually high out of empty formation, as Coach knows, because you get guys in one-on-one situations, you miss one tackle, boom, you got a player that can make something happen. He was over 75% completion percentage, over 10 yards per play, and over 12 yards per attempt in the last 3 games out of empty formation. Explosive play rate, I count that as a play of 15 yards or more, over 30% explosive play rate, first down rate, how often a play leads to a first down, over 50% first down rate out of empty formation. Washington couldn't stop it. They should have ran more of it against Washington, coach. Against Washington, you're talking about he was over 18 yards per attempt out of empty formation. He had 3 explosive plays throwing the football out of formation versus Washington. And the year before that, versus Washington in Alamo Bowl, coach, he had over 80% completion percentage out of empty formation. He averaged over 10 yards per play out of empty formation in 2022 in that bowl game in the Alamo Bowl against Washington. In 2 years, in 2 games versus Washington, 2 games, you're talking about Quinn Ewers averaging over 11 yards per attempt, 80+% completion percentage, 30+% explosive play rate versus Washington out of empty formation. He gets more comfortable toward the end of the year in it. Maybe Washington is susceptible to it, so probably should have ran it more with the pony package. Pony package plus empty formation. That is hell on wheels for a defense. But, Coach, it seems to me that Quinn got in the groove with empty toward the end of the year. I'm hoping he will pick up right where he left off this upcoming season.
Yeah, I think so. And it's not hard. A lot of coaches will have maybe one side, they'll have a certain route combination based on a blitz. And the other side is going to be a slower developing routes, for example, if they're in zone. And so if they're blitzing, you've got to have an automatic on one side or the other, but usually between a couple of players, so one can pick for the other one coming underneath whatever, or a bubble, or some way you can get rid of it quick, or if they're pressing the fade, however you want to do that. But then the other side, you've got a route combination that you want if they're not blitzing, and so that gives a quarterback a chance to get rid of the ball if he has to, because they can certainly bring more people than you can block.
Yep.
So you have to have a way, you have to have a safety valve to get rid of the ball quickly. So a lot of times, on one side, like I said, you've got a beater route some way. On the other side, you've got more mid-range routes. Very rarely in empty, are you going to have a quarterback sitting back there for a long time looking for people, because it's just probably not going to have that much protection because you have nobody helping you.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm with you, Rod. I think it's very effective, and I think if you utilize it correctly, and you utilize it as a way to take the defense away from stopping what you do best, then it can be incredibly successful. And I think Quinn has shown that he's comfortable with that. I would imagine with Riley Dodge, he probably did some of that stuff at South Lake,
I imagine he would, but this is the interesting thing, because you talked about pass protection, Coach. Now, with Sam, I've been tracking this since 2020. So under Sam Ehlinger, with Casey Thompson and with Hudson Card running empty formation, the sack rates drop. Sack rates out of empty formation are actually lower than Texas sack rates without empty, and their sack rates usually out of any passing situation. So because the ball is coming out so quickly, so the sack rates usually drop. With Quinn, that is not the case. Quinn takes more sacks than most quarterbacks out of empty, because I think he sees the pressure instead of feeling the pressure. We talk about this a lot with Quinn. So I think some of the liabilities in Quinn's skill set are exposed out of empty. He did take 2 sacks in that 3-game stretch I talked about at the end of the season. I believe there were 6 sacks total that he ended up that Texas took out of empty formation in 2023. So I do think for Quinn, the lack of that insulation and pass protection has affected him. But like I said, guys, when I've been tracking it in 2020 and in 2021, sack rates actually drop. They're lower out of empty formation because the ball is out so quickly. Not the case for Quinn, because I think he struggles getting through progressions quicker, and I think at times he stares at the pressure instead of feeling the pressure like a Michael Penix used to do. But I think he's getting better at that, and the hope is that the last 3 games were a bit of foreshadowing for Quinn out of empty. Now, empty rates, basically Sark is less than 6%. The last time he was over 6% in empty formation was 2021. So usually he's going to be below 6%. My suggestion would be, Coach, I think you should ratchet up to about 10% if Quinn is comfortable in it. That, to me, I think it would result in more explosive plays for you. And I'll just give you this before we get out of here, because I know we're getting close to the end. Explosive play rate for Texas is around 16.8% for the 2023 season. Your explosive play rates out of empty formation the last 3 years, 23%, 22%, 25%. It works. It works. Your yards per play for Texas, 6.7 yards per play this year out of empty formation. The last 3 games, by the way, I told you that he was over 10 yards per play the last 3 games this season. But in 2022, 7.8 yards per play. 2021, over 8 yards per play out of empty formation. It works. And I think when you extrapolate it for Sark, I think it'll, with a veteran quarterback, hopefully some veteran wide receivers, and a veteran offensive line, I really do think Texas could be the most lethal team in the country this year running empty formation. I think it's very possible. They were really lethal when they had Bijan, because Bijan could split out and run routes like a wide receiver, and you had JT Sanders. I think this year, more wide receivers on the field, maybe running out of that pony package, or maybe running it out of that 10 personnel package potentially with 4 wide receivers. One last nugget, Coach, to prove you are a genius before we get out of here. You talked about how a quarterback who can run would be deadly out of an empty formation package. Let me give you Bam Bam Sam's numbers before we get out of here. He averaging 9.6 yards per play out of empty formation in 2020. He had 1 sack and 1 tackle for loss that he took out of empty. He had basically, if you look at it, passing yards or yards per attempt, 10 yards per attempt out of empty. He only completed 55%, but he was, in terms of explosive plays, almost 22% explosive play rate. Got a first down on every 2.6 plays, or first down or a touchdown. Money downs, 4 if you include penalties too, because sometimes they got a lot of PI penalties because guys were out of position and empty. 45% conversion rate on money downs. I mean, it was a thing of beauty to watch Sam in that empty formation. And they probably ran it. Let me see. I think they ran it around a little less than 8% of the time. My suggestion for Sark, ratchet it up to close to 10%, and you will thank me later. I guarantee you. Yeah.
I'm sure he'll tune in. I'm sure he'll tune in and watch this.
Yeah. Y'all get the message to Sark. Y'all get it to him. All right, let's thank our fantastic sponsor one more time. Football Theory is brought to you by accomplished Austin realtor Laura Baker. Laura and the Andy Allen team at Keller Williams can handle all of your real estate needs in the Austin area. Laura is not only a diehard Longhorn fan, but a longtime Austin real estate expert. So please give her a shout today. 512-784-0505. That's 512-784-0505. Thank you very much, Coach, for the time. Appreciate it as always. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. For all you guys out there joining us, thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of the On Texas Football family. Thank you very much to our sponsor once again, Laura Baker, my man Matthew behind the scenes. Until next time, hook 'em horns.